Hey guys, my name is Steve Piggott. I'm the lead game designer behind Chivalry Medieval Warfare, and today we're going to be answering some questions from the community. Before we get into that, I just want to thank you guys. Anyone who donated on pledged on Kickstarter means a lot to us. We really appreciate that, and you're allowing us to pursue our dreams, so thank you very much. So let's start with the first question.
You've announced a list of stretch goals. Will these be implemented in the game at a later stage if the stretch goals are not met?
Yeah, well, the stretch goal goals were something that we wanted to do. We wanted to get an initial release, almost all of these things, but we didn't have the resources or the time to be able to do that. So we put them out there as stretch goals for you guys to make sure, your opportunity to make sure that we get to those things. So there's a chance that we can get to those things, but we're not entirely sure if we'll be able to get to all of them. And the stretch goals were there for you guys to make sure that we get to those things.
60,000 has been reached, so what are the new weapons?
The new weapons are something actually that we want the community input on, and we have a forum thread already going on this, and we're getting a lot of good ideas. I think the flail will definitely be in there. We've had a lot of people requesting the flail, so the flail will be there. There's also been other suggestions like a quarterstaff and a sling. Those two aren't for sure, but just let us know on the forums, and we'll try and get the weapons in that you guys want.
What are all the game modes?
There's a huge variety of game modes in Chivalry. Obviously the team objective game mode is the big one. That's the one that we've been kind of pushing with. You have these iconic medieval objectives where you have to go in and siege castles, take out enemy nobility, or burn villages and raid villages. But on top of that, there's also a lot of more quick fun game modes, things like Last Team Standing, Free for All, Team Deathmatch, King of the Hill, some of the more classic game modes as well, like Capture the Flag.
Are there going to be more players on a server than 32?
Well, the reason we're saying 32 is because we want to make sure that we can support those amount of players. It's possible that you'd be able to do more than 32 players if you had better machines and better servers, but we want to say 32 because if we don't, then it increases the minimum requirements for the game.
In the event that DLC is created for this game, of what form will it take? Will it be paid or free, and what content will be released?
DLC is a really fun time for developers because it allows you to create a lot of go crazy with a lot of the ideas that you wanted to do during development you didn't have time for. So we'll definitely do a lot of free content. Let me get that out there first. And a lot of our DLC will be driven by ideas from the community. You guys get your input, tell us what you want us to do, and we'll try and run with that. We also have some fun ideas of our own that I think you guys will really like that'll add just a little bit of flavor to the game.
Death in the game seems to be a big deal. Will there be the ability to revive teammates and such?
You won't be able to revive teammates in Chivalry, and this is important because we want to make every player feel both powerful and vulnerable at the same time. That's also the reason why fights tend to happen quickly, and you land 2 or 3 strikes and the fight's over, and the reason for that is that we have that sense of being vulnerable, having that tension there in the combat.
How will hosting a game work? Do I have to set up my own server, or will you guys provide server hosting? And in what areas will servers be hosted?
Yeah, server hosting in Chivalry is a very familiar system for first-person shooter players. It's just like Counter-Strike. You have dedicated servers. You can rent them or purchase them from any server host that supports it. And we'll also have some of our own official servers, so anyone all over the world will have servers for sure.
Will we be able to pick weapons up from the ground in future patches?
No, that's not a feature we're going to be supporting for balance reasons. We find that there's a huge variety of weapons already within the classes, and allowing players to, let's say, be a heavy knight with a crossbowman is something that we want to avoid for balance reasons.
Will there be horses added at any point in the game's history?
No, we're not going to be adding horses to Chivalry, and the reason goes beyond just the amount of work made into making horses. Actually, the entire game isn't made for horses, and we wanted to focus more on the siege aspect of of Medieval Warfare.
Are there going to be bots? Are you going to be able to play 16 on 16 with a normal game mode with bots? And how good is the AI?
Yeah, you can definitely play all the game modes, all the same game modes that you get in multiplayer. You can play with bots offline. You can throw them into your online matches, and the bot AI make for very competent opponents.
Are there going to be Steam achievements?
Yeah, so definitely be Steam achievements. I think one of the best ones that we had from Age of Chivalry will be coming back, which was called Rotisserie Chef. And that's the one where you had to set your opponent on fire and then cut his head off when he was on fire. So hopefully some more fun ones like that will be in there as well, new ones.
Can you guys possibly expand the lore and history of World of Chivalry?
Yes, there'll definitely be lore expansions. We actually have a lot of the lore already expanded internally, and we're just looking at the best way to to kind of release that to you guys. So, definitely.
Is there a customization system, different helmets, armor, etc.?
There's not an expansive customization system, and that's something that unfortunately we're just not able to do with our team size, so the resources that we have available. That's very, very art team heavy, and we unfortunately weren't able to do that.
Will you guys make formations easy to make amongst your team? For example, adding a feature that encourages and guides players to make a certain formation, shield wall in certain places?
Formations can play an interesting role in Chivalry. There's no built-in mechanic for, let's say, giving you additional damage or speed if you make a certain formation. We didn't want to make meta game elements in that way. But formations can pay off in actually allowing you to defeat your opponents naturally. So a spear wall or a shield wall can be an effective tactic, but you and the players in that server have to use teamwork in order to correctly use that formation.
Agatha or Mason?
It's kind of an interesting question. Something that's gotten more complex with the new version of the game. It's not as dead clear whether it's good and evil anymore. It's kind of a gray area. I think we all have a little bit of Agatha and Mason in us. On the battlefield, I'd say I'm more of a Mason, but in certain areas of my life, I'm more of an Agathian too.
Could you explain in more detail how the mouse control works? In the description it says full real-time control of your swings and blocking.
Yeah, well, okay, the best way to describe it is probably that the WASD keys are your feet. So you move around with those, and the mouse actually is your hips. And that allows you to turn into your strikes and turn into your blocks and adjust in real time to what your opponent is doing.
How large are the game files?
The game on release total size, we recommend about 8 gigabytes, but it'll probably be between 5 and 8 gigabytes.
How many AOC/new voice commands and how many extensive will the voice command menu be?
Yeah, the voice commands, the manual VO that we put in it, there's something like 1,000 new lines, or it might even be 2,000. It's a crazy amount. We have individual actor for every class on every faction. So the Masons are more gruff-speaking, kind of tough guys, and the Agatha are more snobbish. And there's a huge variety in there. Some of the old classics are coming back, and there's a bunch of new ones. Actually, even some Shakespearean-inspired ones that are really interesting.
It doesn't seem like hitting people interrupts their swings. How will you prevent fights from becoming battles of DPS, where both parties just trade damage?
Well, actually, the swing can interrupt your opponent's swing, and the way it works is if you hit them in their wind-up. So before they begin to follow through with their weapon, if you hit them, you'll interrupt them. We call that a flinch. If you hit them later than that, the momentum of the weapon has already started and already gone through, so you can't stop it. So that allows us to combat spamming, but without making it too overpowered where you feel like you can never do anything.
Are you guys going to have any siege weapons in the game? If so, will the besiegers have a different variety than those being besieged, i.e. battering rams for the attackers and boiling oil for the defenders?
Yeah, there's a variety of siege weapons. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. Actually, the attackers will have more weapons geared towards breaking things down, like battering rams and catapults and trebuchets and things like that. Whereas the defenders have more weapons designed to either combat other siege weapons, so something like a ballista would help you for taking out guys on a battering ram, or just taking out people in general. It's actually pretty nasty. The ballista can impale people and pin them to walls or carry them through the air. And there's also boiling oil, so there's a variety of siege weapons.
How many maps are going to be available upon release?
There'll be 7 unique environments in the game, and that's a little bit deceiving because if you remember all the game modes that I mentioned before, every map not only has most of those game modes, it also has potentially multiple variations of those game modes because of the way our maps work. They're actually almost 3 maps in one, each one. So there's a huge variety in the amount of game modes and maps that you can play.
What are your personal thoughts of where you started to where you are now with this project?
Well, I mean, that's a big question. We're definitely very proud of it, and we're very, very happy with how the game has turned out. We're really, really excited that our community has allowed us and really supported us, gotten behind us, allowed us to pursue our dreams and take Age of Chivalry, the mod, and turn it into a commercial title and really be going for it. It's really exciting. Can't really describe it.
Now you've reached your goal and received a well-earned boost. What projects are you looking towards creating after Chivalry?
we this will be a battle, an internal battle on our team. We have a lot of ideas that we want to do after Chivalry. We really see this as the starting point for us. We're really excited about what else we can do. I can't talk about many of our ideas yet, but we have a lot of ideas, and it's going to be an all-out war to decide which one we go for after Chivalry. That's all the questions we'll be taking for today, guys. Sorry if we didn't get to your question. We tried to get it in as many as we can, but we had to keep the video at a reasonable length. I also want to remind you that we have our Kickstarter exclusive beta coming up on September 16th, so that's next Sunday. And we'll also be announcing the release date, the launch date of our game very soon, so stay tuned to that. Thanks a lot, guys, and hope to see you on the battlefield.